What's up? Try to flip it up today.
That's better. That's better.
Good evening. Thank you guys for joining us. Really excited about the conversation that we're hoping to have with you this evening. But first, let's share. Try not to make no rookie mistakes. While we're doing this, so today is September 12th, and we are going to talk about Nike. And we're going to talk about...
Rob, do we want to go down this road?
Yeah, we're going.
Okay. We're going to go down it.
So just to preface this, and because I do think that this has the potential to go lots of different ways. I'm prepared for whatever way it goes. But this is experience-based conversations, right? So the viewpoints that Joe will bring to the table, the viewpoints that I'll bring to the table, and those that are sharing their comments will be based upon kind of their experience and their views. So none of us are experts, which means we're not absolutely right. Doesn't mean we're absolutely wrong.
I'm always right.
Yeah, and I'm mad arrogant, so that said a whole lot for me to say that. The other thing is, if you're in opposition, I welcome you to share your viewpoint as to why you might not be in agreement with what Joe, myself, or whoever else might share a comment is saying. So let's make this a conversation. So from the point of view that if you don't agree with something, suggest a counter argument as opposed to just, I don't agree with that, but why? So let's try to make this as engaging as possible, so it's not just people sharing opposition without really giving any context as to why. Michelle is going to try to attend tonight, so you guys might see her jumping in
watching.
later. Hey Michelle, see you watching. Hopefully you're not watching and driving. That's not a good thing. So with that, we're going to jump in it. So the focus of today's conversation is really centered around the recent launch of the Nike campaign, the 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign, and the fact that they featured Colin Kaepernick as the prominent athlete within that campaign. Not the only athlete, but the prominent, which ended with kind of a still image of him that said, believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything. And obviously the Nike swoosh, and then at the bottom, just do it. So I got a list of things we want to go through, but for transparency, Joe, before the campaign, did you buy Nikes?
Yes, I did.
After the campaign, did that make you want to buy more Nikes?
I do want to support them a little bit more.
Okay.
Now, can I say this?
Say what you
It's
want.
not necessarily and only because of this Kaepernick situation and what he stood for, which I believe is very important.
Okay. Why do you believe it's very important?
Because no one in their right mind, in my opinion, can look at America and all of the situations that have happened in America and say everything's all right, especially in the case of what he's kneeling for or what he began to kneel for. But the reason why I will continue to support Nike is because, in my opinion, they really took a big risk to take a stance in regards to this topic. Most corporations want to play it safe, and they stay away from taking a side or another.
So we're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. I like that.
But they to me, they took a heavy risk, a very big risk, to take that approach.
So y'all hold us accountable. We want to come back to somewhere in the conversation, either today, and I got a feeling this one might carry over. Did Nike take a risk by launching and featuring Colin Kaepernick as the prominent athlete in this new campaign? So the same questions I asked Joe, I'll kind of answer of myself. For those that know me, I'm a Nike guy. Shoes are my vice. Nike is my brand of choice. Give a little bit more context, because just to put it all out there, I am somebody that's been very vocal. I've been collecting and very involved in the sneaker world since I started working at McDonald's at 16. So Nike means a whole lot to me, to the point that I've been offered a job at Nike. I've been there on campus a few times. So it is a brand that, when I think about organizations and companies that really resonate with me, that brand is top three. Of course, my current organization is up there as well. But so yes, Nike definitely holds a special place in my heart. Did the launch of the campaign make me want to buy Nikes more? No. I'm gonna buy sneakers regardless, right? So I'm not gonna say that it did anything to impact my buying or purchasing behaviors, but I will say there was a sense of pride of seeing a brand that I'm so connected with, that resonates very close to me, make a stance on something. So again, it's not gonna make me buy more Nikes, but it definitely gave me that feeling of like, so.
Especially for a group of people that don't always have a voice.
So what you mean by that?
So when you think of like the impoverished people that are constantly harassed by police officers. Now I'm not saying white, I'm not saying just black. I'm saying just poor people that live in neighborhoods where they
over police.
Yeah, are over policed, and again don't necessarily have a microphone.
Yeah.
This company to me became the microphone.
So meaning that because Nike supported Colin, in virtue they also support what he's standing up for.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least, minimally, they support that he's protesting. Like they support that he's believing in something. Yeah. They don't necessarily have to believe in what he's.
So I'm about to hit you with okay.
I'm not saying that they.
I like that. So Nike is also the same organization that has entered into a contract with the NFL as the featured sponsored brand.
Right.
Meaning all of the apparel is Nike product.
Right.
So do you believe Nike can support Colin while also doing business with the NFL?
Absolutely.
Why?
And this is why. Because business is business. Like when you look at Nike, Nike is a representation of what a business is. It's an entity that has its own social security number, and I'm saying that like a
tax ID.
Number,
tax ID.
That operates and behaves as a quote unquote living organism in this country.
With the intended goal of what?
Making money.
Being profitable.
Yeah, being profitable.
Yep.
So to close a deal with the NFL and simultaneously say, hey, we stand behind an individual that activates its rights as an American, whether we agree or disagree. It's no different than a TV show playing some type of broadcast and they say in the very beginning, this company doesn't necessarily believe in what this thing is about to say, but they play the show.
Yep. Okay.
And you watch it. You see what I'm saying? You watch it. So to me, it's literally no different.
I don't disagree. I'm
ready, boy. I was ready.
So we posted on the Breaking Bread Facebook page earlier this week an article that talked about it, and I will say I purposely and very intentionally didn't provide any comments on it because I wanted to share all of my feelings on this subject on the live. But it was funny, and I don't know if Joe, you got this. The amount of text messages that I got saying, yo, Rob, y'all want to talk about this on Breaking Bread? And I was like, yo, we don't run away from it. If you think we should talk about it, we'll talk about it. It was already in the back of my head, like, I think we should talk about this. But then immediately, they signed a caution, like, yo, it'd be dope if y'all talk about this, but be careful. And be
careful too,
based upon how divisive this campaign and the fact that Nike is supporting Colin has made people really raise up. I mean, obviously, the burning of merchandise isn't a new phenom, right? We saw it when LeBron left Cleveland. So I think some of it is clickbait, right? People do that for the viewership. But the overly the fact that people are now boycotting Nike because of their taking a stance with the perception as if they're supporting Colin. And I say perception because Nike hasn't necessarily, from what I've seen, I haven't seen them directly come out and say, we are in support of Colin and what he stands for. Right. All they've done is featured him as the prominent. Right. But what I thought was very interesting, which made me even more excited about what Nike has done, is the fact that Colin had been under contract with Nike since 2011. Exactly. So 2018, he's been under contract with them for 7 years, meaning he had an endorsement deal. They're cutting this guy a check, sending him merch, supporting him behind the scenes, and only now decided. So is it opportunistic, or is it really a true relationship between Nike and Colin, where they do, based upon the extent of the relationship, truly are supporting him, and to your point, doing good business by also securing the deal with the NFL, which is still one of the most prominent sports in America?
Well, hi guys.
Michelle's ready. See, she got a Nike hoodie.
I got my Nike hoodie.
I like that too.
I know. So I think it's not just, I think you'd have to look at Nike in general. Like, what else have they done? Is this one-time thing? And the answer, I don't think so. I think Phil Knight has been prominent on other...
They've definitely been an innovator, a leader in the space, and an authority in the space as well.
Yeah, so I think, well, they lost, I mean, the first day it came out, they lost shares, or stock value. Mm-hmm. It went down really low. They lost a couple schools, I think, to Georgia, the Christian University in Georgia, and there was another university they lost, maybe Missouri. Was it Missouri? But then today you look and their sales are skyrocketing. So, I mean, I think they knew it was going to be good. You can't.
So with that, I want you to go and jump in with your thought, but I want us to also kind of hit on now, what are our expectations of organizations? So we kind of started off by saying, you said because Nike made this stance, it did make you want to buy a little bit more. And I said, I'm going to buy regardless, but it made me feel proud. I want to quote this from something that was in this article that I read. It was Levi's making a stance on gun control. So it says, in a world where they no longer expect the government to fix things, people are turning to corporate America to step in and do something, said Peter Host, the founder of marketing consultancy. Consumers increasingly want to engage with companies whose values match theirs. So, do you guys have an expectation of where you spend your money for those organizations to align with your viewpoints?
And many companies' values align, but it's always high level. It's very like, we believe in togetherness, and it's not really as direct as what Nike, as the stance that I believe.
From what you feel and see. Okay.
Yeah, from what I've seen. But let me take two
steps
back,
right?
No. So everyone's saying that, so let's think about the argument, right? This company is being opportunistic.
Yes.
And which is very contradictory to the point of
he's been on the payroll.
Right. Like to me you're basically saying, man, the group of people that they support really do spend more money than us, and they're just doing this to really get more money from that group of people, as if they make more money or have more money or spend more money than the rest of the world.
I think
that would be the assumption.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah.
I agree. I think what a lot of people are taking issue with is the fact that the word choice and the word selection, and the fact that the quote says sacrifice, and many believe that Colin isn't sacrificing anything, in.
Yeah, but that's very heavily.
So-
I mean,
so-
that's perspective, though. Yeah.
Right.
So that's what is the definition of sacrifice?
An act of giving up something valued for the sake of something else regarded as more important or worthy.
I mean, am I gonna give up my job for a social cause? Like, that's a lot. That's big. And I know people are like, "Oh, it's just millions of dollars." There's people that sacrifice their life, and no one's disputing that there's, the ultimate sacrifice. But
It's still a sacrifice.
yeah, there's people that sacrifice things every day.
And I think, a lot of the things that I saw is the imagery of you have Colin Kaepernick that obviously he didn't give up his career voluntarily. So let's be clear on that, right? So there's an active
No,
case
it was a
against the
consequence.
NFL. So because he made a stance, those that are in power, it presumes to be they took an opportunity from him. So his sacrifice was that. But the piece that I've seen people post is Pat Tillman, who left a career in the NFL to enlist in the military and unfortunately passed away in the Gulf War. And so they're measuring the sacrifice of life having more value than the consequence. And I think, because I don't think, again, my personal viewpoint is I don't think Colin went into it knowing that he was going to sacrifice his career. I thought he went into it thinking he was going to use his platform to bring attention to something, pissed off a couple people in the process, a couple people meaning the majority of the owners, which then blackballed him. So by virtue of that, his career became a sacrifice, but I don't believe it was the intent that he said, I'm going to walk away from the NFL to now start this thing.
And if that's the case, if that's how that's how they would use the term sacrifice, then you as a parent couldn't ever say to your kid, I'm sacrificing X, Y, and Z to make sure you have food on the table or to make sure you have clothes on your back. Because you know what? That's really not a sacrifice.
Yeah, did
You're
you
not
die?
sacrificing. Yeah,
Did
didn't
you die when you
to-
gave birth?
to
Because then
give
that's not a sacrifice.
That's not a sacrifice. You ain't doing anything special.
Yep.
So you would have to say that.
But I would say
Across the board.
that is common rhetoric in the argument on as to why Colin didn't sacrifice anything.
So let's take the emotion out of it.
Okay.
You have people like a David Garibaldi, who is an artist.
Okay, educate us on who that is.
He's an artist. He actually he kind of puts music on and he paints with two hands upside down and by the time he finishes his artwork, you see a picture of whatever he's painting.
Mm-hmm.
And you see companies support his artistry, his movement. And so I almost equate the two. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not that Colin is an artist, but his point of view, his perspective on a subject matter, a company just simply stands behind us to me and says, hey, he believes in something.
And Joe's a 49ers fan, just let it be.
And I'm not a 49ers fan anymore, which is funny, not because of this Colin Kaepernick thing, because they make dumb decisions. But anyway.
I'm a Browns fan, I get it. Former Browns fan, so yeah.
I'm a former 49ers fan, and I didn't even get rocked with them when Kaepernick was kneeling. It was just because they make dumb decisions. But anyway, that was just the angle I was coming from. They didn't say we believe that there is police brutality in the neighborhood. They just basically said, hey, if you believe in something, stand,
So I guess getting back to the Nike piece, right? So go ahead.
Well, no, getting back to like the companies, like I want, like, yes, I try to go to certain companies that, like, I know Lyft, like, every time I go out and use Lyft or Uber, I ask, which one do you prefer driving if they do both? And they like Lyft better because they pay them more. But also Uber had that prior CEO that was, not the best and had values that didn't match mine.
Yeah.
And so that was also another reason for me to go to Lyft. But then again, I don't follow the values of Chick-fil-A, but do I go to Chick-fil-A? Yes.
I mean, so to that, I'll be completely transparent. I pick and choose where I want my dollars to go based upon what I believe the impact to me is. So, like, I don't go to Papa John's anymore. Like, facts, don't do it. There was a time when Subway was going through what it was going through. I ain't messing with Subway right now. The NFL, now I gave up the NFL for many reasons. But NFL has been something, I would say, like, when I say many reasons, color that in. For sure, the way in which they have tried to, in my opinion, retaliate against Colin for using a platform to bring awareness to something. But like just even in general, like I have a problem with the amount of concussions and the fact that players are, and I don't personally feel they've done enough in kind of. So like for me, there's a few things I think like this is just the one that put me over the edge with the NFL. Like I think I'm cool with it.
Sorry. Did the NFL have an issue when Tim Tebow was kneeling?
Did the NFL have an issue when Tim Tebow was kneeling?
Did he kneel during the anthem?
No, he kneeled after his touchdowns.
It wasn't during the anthem?
I don't believe it was ever doing that.
I no, I'm asking. I really don't know.
I believe he did it after touchdowns. From what I remember.
Well, then maybe we should bring it back to not why is he kneeling. We know why. Well, that's a separate.
Let's assume that we don't. So
no. I'm saying like that's a separate.
Yep.
That's we definitely because I feel like that part is even getting overshadowed. No one's even talking about it anymore. But to the other point of him, why did he start kneeling? So how did he get to the point of kneeling? So because he sat down during his first NFL or during an NFL anthem, and a former football player, I don't know if he was playing at the time, from the Seahawks or the Packers, Nate DeBrill? I can't remember Nate. So his first name is Nate. Reached out to him or said something on Twitter. I think he's a former Marine.
Green Beret.
And reached out to Colin and said, hey, like that kind of offended me, that like, you sitting down. And they had a sit down, and Colin invited him to come have a sit down and talk about the issue of why he was protesting the national anthem. So it was Nate's idea, and Nate stood with him on the first game he did it, and said kneeling is a sign of respect. People kneel when they get married. People kneel when a player gets hurt. People kneel when they pray. Why don't you try kneeling during the anthem, so you're still respecting the flag, but also showing that there is a problem.
Yeah.
And so he starts kneeling, and then there's this backlash saying it's not respectful when he was sitting at first, which someone came and told him, and then he listened and said, I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'm like, why are you upset that he's kneeling?
Yeah, so
I think because Trump voiced a very strong opinion during his campaign that brought what I believe at that point in time, because before I don't think it was that big of a issue, and then man, I think once when he pointed that out, that he needs to blah blah blah, he's disrespecting the flag, and used his platform to protest against him kneeling, then that became
I think it when the conversation shifted from it being bringing awareness to the social injustices impacted and felt more overtly by one community to a sign of patriotism, I believe that's when things got muddy. So I think, and just trying to connect the dots with Nike, so I think because what most people are focused on is Colin kneeling is anti-American. By Nike backing him, they are now also anti-American. But I think, again, the piece on how is that the case when Nike is in a business partnership with the NFL by being the leading sponsor of all apparel products.
But I mean, it's kind of politically genius what Trump and his kind of cohorts did. They literally, no one is talking about why he's kneeling. We're only talking about the kneeling. We have to stop talking about the fact that people are getting shot, minorities are getting shot more likely in police brutality and the systematic incarceration of minorities, and no one's talking about that. We're talking about, oh, does he love America enough? This guy says no, this guy says yes, and it's like, what? Why does this come around? Him kneeling was a way for him to have a platform.
To bring awareness.
Yeah. And I know people are saying, well, there's a time and a place to protest. No, that's why it's great to protest. There's been more backlash to the way he protests than there was the protests in Charlottesville. And that's what really grinds my gears and really puts me over the edge because
Grinds my gears.
grinds my gears. I'd like to see I'd like to see those people complaining about the way Colin Kaepernick protesting, if they also were disgusted and outraged and posted when that woman was killed.
Yeah.
Because she sacrificed her life for a cause, and yet no one's talking about her.
Yeah.
So it's just it's great. Trump did it perfectly for his
base.
to change for his base to change the actual fact that there is a problem by creating a new problem.
So now
diversion.
Exactly.
So now let's hit it to the NFL. I think we've all kind of alluded to. Do we have any comments, Keo, on that end?
No comments yet. I just want to clear up. He did not kneel during the national anthem.
Tim Tebow. Thanks. Let's talk about a little bit the NFL's role. What role do you guys see the NFL playing in this tangle web? What part of the conversation? So we can focus on the NFL relationship with Colin. We can talk about the NFL relationship with the protests in general. So any thoughts on like the NFL and what sense of ownership do they have in contribution to this conversation?
You cannot take away from the fact that the NFL allows its players to create nonprofits that will give back to their local communities in ways that's so.
What do you mean allow? What do you mean allow?
Well, I don't mean the term allow.
Okay,
they do support it.
Support.
They let them use their brand to show commercials with, hey, this is an event that we're doing in the community for these kids, and it's not specifically just Caucasian kids, it's just kids in general. Okay. So I'm saying I wouldn't take that away from them. I think that they are contributing in some way to. So
is it the NFL or the owners?
No, the
NFL?
Let's finish the thought because I'm gonna bring it back. So what role does the NFL own within this though?
So I'm assuming though that brand, when these commercials come on and they're showing their brand in association with those acts, to me that's the NFL standing behind that type of situation.
But
I
get what you're saying, but who is the NFL? Because some people would say it's not the players. It's not. It's the owners, and they decide.
So the reason I asked the question is earlier I asked the question around what are our expectations of organizations and how we spend our money and the values. So if the NFL as an organization, right, if we hold them to the same standard that we are now celebrating Nike for doing what they did.
Well, you shouldn't support the NFL then, because the way they've treated
that's what I'm trying to get to.
The way they've treated domestic abuse, the way that they've treated the union. I mean, Roger Goodell might as well be the slumlord in that whole situation, to be honest with you. I mean...
So if anything, I think the NFL is very opportunistic. So case in point, right? Great things that they use to elevate that. So I'll say this. I say that they're inconsistent. So month of October, breast cancer awareness, everybody's wearing pink, so they use their platform to bring awareness to that. Opportunistic in the sense, to your point, when it comes to, and again, Ray Rice. Domestic violence. There's so many countless players that we talk about that.
Not till the video came out, though.
Fair. That's why I say opportunistic. They are reactionary to certain things. So I think when it comes to things like cancer or United Way campaigns,
everybody likes that.
Things that are universal and bubblegum, NFL.
Which is what I mean by corporations.
Yeah.
But then that's like being like, well, Well,
that's where I was gonna go next. Is you say Nike took a risk. So are we upset at the NFL not because they didn't back Colin or back bringing awareness to this? Are we upset that they just played it safe? And playing it safe is
did they make a statement?
Let's look at the NBA. When LeBron came out and has been very vocal about his political beliefs,
wearing a T-shirt, I can't breathe.
Or when they wore the hoodies.
Yep.
Yeah. When after Trayvon Martin was shot, what did the commissioner do there? I'm pretty sure he supported them.
He did, yes.
Smith. Adam.
Yeah,
Adam with names.
I'm bad with
Yeah.
it. But he supported them. So but then again, is that because the majority of the fans are black and they felt that way? And then it feels like, ooh, we got a lot of like, mostly our fans are not only black, but mostly they're white people. And the South, it's been.
Well, I don't think
Is
it's
that a thought process?
I don't think it's the fans. So I think the difference between the NFL and NBA, in my opinion, is one, the amount of games, right? So you have a much smaller season, so a smaller window of making money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the NFL, we all know, like, you are lucky if you can afford to go to one game. So the average fan base of the NFL, in my opinion, isn't a supporter in the sense that they go to live venues. They make a lot of their money off the TV deals, direct TV, etc. So the people that can afford to come to the games are those with money, those that can afford to buy the seats, or buy the boxes. So I think what the NFL did is different than the NBA, which has 41 home games. Is the NBA has a much more fan-oriented game that kind of brings the fan base in a little bit more and tries to make it more of an entertainment for everybody, versus the NFL fan base can enjoy the game and has built a following and viewership from being able to watch it at home or other places, not necessarily in the direct venue, because again, most people can't afford to go to a football game. Got a comment?
Yeah, Don says it's the owners over the NFL. There has to be a majority from all owners for someone to take ownership of a team, like Carolina Panthers. Then Tammy adds, in regards to 45 and followers, people are burning their Nike shoes in protest and feel like Colin isn't patriotic and is disrespecting our flag. I think most likely those upset by this chastise NFL players for disrespecting the flag, yet support a president that turns around and plays games with the same flag just to spite a veteran and American hero, as in McCain.
Well, yeah. I mean, President Trump literally said that when soldiers dies, they know what they're getting into, and then said good soldiers don't get captured in comments of John McCain. And yet, nothing. I think that saying those things about people that have served and could give the ultimate sacrifice or have.
I just think we have to be, and again, this isn't me taking a side. I think it's a very slippery slope when we start to try to put values or weight on what sacrifice outweighs another, or whose level of patriotism outweighs somebody else's. And I think perception is always based upon the viewpoint that you're in, right? So if, for the sake of being respectful on this platform, if the president has a viewpoint of saying those statements, I'm trying to be very politically correct here, I would hope it's predicated on the fact that he hasn't experienced what those that he's critiquing have experienced, so he's uneducated in providing their point of view.
That's a great code switch.
NC State, go Pats.
He's not educated?
In the experience.
The commander of our military is not educated.
In the experiences to make such comments. Again, I'm not saying that.
So he shouldn't have made those comments.
And I'm gonna make a really bad correlation, but that's as if I'm critiquing, say, a job that I've never done. I might have an observation, but I don't believe I should be able. I don't believe I should critique. That's just my opinion.
But for people
do you critique athletes?
I don't.
Oh, you don't.
I don't.
Okay. Okay.
I don't.
But everyone's arguing Nike's been opportunistic.
Yes.
What was Trump's whole campaign? It was very opportunistic for the people that believed, for the uproar that started to happen in cadence with the Trayvon Martin, all of these things. That's how he.
Are we connecting though Trump supporters with the people that are protesting? Are we saying that that's a majority of what's happening?
I'm saying that. I could be.
So those that are
saying that.
boycotting Nike, you believe are mostly Trump supporters?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
do you agree with that?
I'm not saying
I think
that,
so.
but I'm saying that if I was to make a percent, I said 95%.
Make it an educated guess.
Yeah.
Your
I mean,
hypothesis.
obviously, there's obviously non-Trump supporters who also agree with Trump but don't support Trump, and vice versa.
Yeah, right.
So, but yes, I would say the majority. I mean, we're so divided as a country down this political line. I think it's worse than it has been a while. And
I wouldn't say worse. I think it's just a heightened sensitivity now because I think it's probably more polarizing than it's ever been before.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
But I think the disenfranchised don't feel any different today than they felt 5 years ago or even 10 years ago.
I agree. But the people that, like, I would say this, like, it wasn't till Trump came into office that I realized how racist people are, to be honest. And you don't...
See, but that wasn't, so, like, there was...
But for me, who was in a bubble, honestly, like, I guess...
That's why I say a heightened awareness, because I don't think nothing, I hope he doesn't get mad at me, but I won't say. A friend of mine said, old white people being racist is not a new thing. So, like, when Don said, it's the owners. Who are the majority of the owners? So, like, the former owner of the Carolina Panthers and the things that he said, the owner of the Clippers, like, old white men saying racist stuff isn't new news.
No.
So I think the only difference now is in 2018, you have somebody like our president who's in a position that has the ability to have a much bigger reach than those individual isolated.
But people, I feel like, would say comments, right? And, we're joking. And I think... But then there was people that would say racist stuff, but secretly. Now people are like, well, Trump doesn't like Muslims.
For sure.
All these Mexicans are rapists. Like, the president said it. Whereas before they would have been like, well, we just, we just wish they would be more like us.
Yeah, I agree that there's been more empowerment of saying crazy stuff.
But it does hurt more when you know that someone knows you're being treated badly. So before it could have been hidden. It still was hard, but now I know we're getting shot in the streets, and you still don't see a problem with that.
So Joe, now you say that, but and I hope you're honest here. I'll leave with kind of the statement for myself. I was always of the mindset I'd much rather know the guy that hates me and know that for a fact than the guy that talks about me quietly behind the scenes.
Right.
So with that being said, I get what you're saying. But that's the very statement that we wanted to know those that didn't like us. At least be transparent with it.
Right.
Keep it a buck with me. If you don't.
But as a country, you're like, now you're telling me
this ain't
you
new.
see the issue. Right.
But
It's
this
not
ain't
new.
It's not new, but don't you think there's a lot
exposed.
more people now coming out being racist, but there's a lot more people standing up?
So again, what I'm saying is
Because,
I don't think I don't think it's more. I just think I do agree that I think the platform is there for those to say it overtly, but at the same time, that's something that I would say back in the day, I much rather know the people that hate me.
Right. But now that I know you hate me,
now I can move accordingly.
Cool. You can move accordingly.
Yeah.
But now that you see as my good friend, as a fellow citizen in this country, you see that Rob is treating me wrong. And you still don't understand.
And I just let it go.
Why it's a problem.
1991, Rodney King.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying.
Right, you're right. But
I'm just saying, like this not new news. Like, so again, I think what's going on today that's different than anywhere else is, one, social media. The prominence of social media has expanded exponentially the platform of everybody seeing this. I think, two, the fact that these mobile devices allow everybody to have this stuff in real time. But I don't think we're seeing a higher level of stories happen. I just think we now have the ability to read these things more prominent.
What I liken it to, I'm sorry, 2 seconds. What I liken it to is racism and slavery, whatever was happening back during Martin Luther King's day. It was happening. The whole world knew, okay, it's something like slavery going on down there. I don't know if it's really happening, but it's happening.
Yep.
Then they start videotaping and then showing it.
Yep.
Then the world, America was like, you know what? Dude, this ain't right. We have to fix it. That's kind of what I'm equating
Like the
this to.
Holocaust,
Where,
like people didn't believe it till they saw it.
till you
But
see
I-
it.
but
And
I
then now
also-
that they see it, the world is like, it's opportunity. It's like
Yeah.
every other excuse to fix the issue versus.
But just from, in my life, it's one thing that has come out recently since Trump became president was the Me Too movement,
Mm-hmm.
which as a woman and as a victim,
Scumbags have been around forever.
they have been around forever, but as a victim, I never felt strong enough because I thought I was alone. I
Yep.
thought, you really don't realize that it really is everyone and it is everywhere. And now women are standing up for the first time to truly say, no, you can't say that. And no, I don't care if you think I'm a bitch.
Time's up.
Yeah, time's up.
Right.
And it is. And because of this, and because of the Me Too movement, there's people, not just women, or not just men, but even women, are being pushed out of their jobs and being, prosecuted and being rightly treated after what they have done to people.
No, I hear you. I think
Which never would have happened 5 years ago. Do you think Matt Lauer 5 years ago would have gotten fired for that?
Hell
No. But the Me Too movement has
Listen.
changed.
But I guess my angle is America's original sin, right? Slavery. The fact that we haven't really atoned for it and had serious conversations around it have created a platform to allow it to get to where it is. And I'm not going to discount the role that the president has played in helping escalate some of that. But I don't think I think the difference between, in my head, the Me Too movement and kind of the systematic oppression piece is, I think scumbags have been around forever, the same as racists have been around forever. I think for the Me Too movement, I do believe that it did empower and energize a movement that really did bring kind of that Time's Up campaign. I think because the race and inequality thing is something that we are still afraid to deal with, everybody has a mother. Like, you wouldn't be here without a mom. So I think it's an easier conversation to buy into when it comes to women's rights. Not to say that I think it's a much safer conversation. And I hate using the word safer because I don't want to compare the two. But I think race makes people uncomfortable, but being able to speak about women and the things that they've experienced and supporting women is a easier transition.
For you.
I'm speaking in the context of the country from the standpoint.
I see and I'm not trying to compare, the two because they are very different. There's, but I think, when Obama got president, I was like, okay, look, wow, we have a black man in office.
Progressive.
We are getting there.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, no, we're not. Growing up, I was in high school when Obama started going in the primaries. It was my senior year. And then I'm like in college, so I'm in this once again a bubble where you're just in this it's all thoughts and good juju and everything's good, and then you're like, oh wow, and what 2016, the year before, I think 2015 when he started running, you're like, what just happened? So I think it really has opened my eyes because it was easier to not pay attention to it because we have a black president, they'll be fine, they're getting there. But honestly, and that was me. Me 5 years ago to me now was completely different. I made racist jokes, I made sexist jokes, I made jokes that now I look back and I'm like, oh my God, how ignorant was I? But now that I'm having conversations with people and opening my life up and getting outside of my my little circle, I've learned so much.
But again, for me, that's why I say it goes back to perspective, right? So you've experienced things but shifted your perspective. And I think, kind of bringing it back to the whole Nike thing, I think, because I want to go to where you said, did Nike take a risk? I think the fact that this social climate and how divisive it is opportunistic. And I think, I've read it in a few places, when history is written, Nike, which most of us believe will be on the right side of history, right? They were one of the leading companies to support vicariously through Colin Kaepernick the movement of equality. Now, granted, we say that to say Nike, and just kind of give a little bit of credence to what they do. They've launched equality campaigns from the jump.
Right.
They every year they have Black History Month products that they launch. They did a tremendous, like if you missed their Pride thing this year, like you were under a rock. So Nike, I think as an organization has always been on the cutting edge and leading, trying to contribute in social causes and social awareness. And they've also caught a lot of critique from some of their manufacturing practices where they source different things. So like no organization is without fault. So not to sit here and celebrate Nike as if, they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Just like any organization, they've made some mistakes, but I think they've had a commitment to trying to do the right thing. So,
and again, the right thing, just like she said, she's Chick-fil-A, whatever. It seems like people only want to push a company, a person that supports their own beliefs. If you have something that's different than what I believe in, to hell with them, burn them down. Where what I'm trying to say is a corporation role when it comes to social issues, if not, Nike can make a stance, and if I choose as an individual to not support their organization because of their stance, I should be able to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
But
sure.
but I shouldn't be like, well, you got to do what I did because I can't believe that you even support a company that Well, that's it shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't, but the life is like that, right? I think the beauty of what happened, and again, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think Nike launching their campaign. I see Kid has a question. With now Levi's back in the conversation about gun control, I think Levi's probably already had this in motion, but they were able to see what Nike did, how the community, the country responded to that. They launched theirs, so now you got Nike and you have Levi's stepping up to do things. What happens now? Amazon. Let Amazon come out and do something. I think we're starting to see a transition where organizations aren't relying upon government and are using their platforms. I wish I could remember, but I know there's a number of organizations, companies that are trying to work together to address certain issues, right? So I think you're starting to see this coalition of different companies standing up for stuff, man. And I think what that is going to create is for the companies that don't raise their hand and say this is what we stand on. People are going to start to question like, well, your silence is just as informative of what you're saying. You're standing up.
So then you have a series of companies like an us and them company.
Yeah.
Kind of like an Under Armour, because an Under Armour is a Trump supporting. The CEO is a Trump supporter. Are you gonna stop wearing Under Armour?
I don't wear it now. Kia, go ahead.
I don't either. But I agree with that.
So Don has offered a couple of comments. He's back to the original. It's old white people still running things, so they can't get a pass. They need to be held accountable. Then he says, original sin for America is deception and theft.
Fair.
Yes. He has gone on to say, personally, Nike is a distraction for what the original purpose was for. Now Black people are focused on Colin being the face and not so much the original reason he was kneeling. Then prices for Nike in the Black community will rise higher and they will still have jerseys in the NFL with their logo.
Yeah.
So they're going to make their money regardless.
Yeah. But could you say that having a face to something it kind of brings people together, like Martin Luther King brought people together? You don't think he's the face of civil rights, right?
So I say this, right? I think I have this argument with friends all the time. I think in 2018 it's easy to say, we all supported MLK. I wasn't around. I was born in 1981, but my thoughts are, during that time, I don't think everybody was rocking with MLK. I think there was a group obviously that supported and allowed him and the team that he was a part of to do their work. But from what I have read, and not to say I'm well studied on this, everybody didn't allow their kids to go to the march. So like,
right.
I think history always Same thing with Muhammad Ali. It's easy to say now that history has kind of revealed itself to say, yeah, I was down for the cause since day one. But the reality is a lot of people aren't. So I think what we're feeling now is you're seeing the few, but I think fast forward 5-10 years from now, it's going to feel like a lot more because people see how things are played out.
Okay, in 5 to 10 years, what? And do you think there'll be a face of the change? Because there's like a face of the Me Too movement.
So
not to bring it back to that.
Yeah. So I say this, and this is, I hope this comes off right. I think from a strategic standpoint, I think kneeling did its job, and I say that to say Colin has gone on to do things. So I'm not speaking specifically to Colin Kaepernick. I think kneeling was the first phase, bringing attention. I think that should have been for a set period of time until they transitioned into what the next thing was. So I liken it to breaking bread. When breaking bread first started, we were sitting around tables talking. Talking's good all day long, but until that talking translates to action, and I use the kind of example, it's the hamster on the spin wheel. Like, you're just spinning. It's great, you're talking. So for me, to be quite honest, kneeling is now a conversation about patriotism, and it's not about bringing awareness to the thing. So I don't think kneeling is an effective strategy anymore if the goal is to try to bring some real change to what's going on within disenfranchised communities. That's just my personal
But
opinion.
I always wonder, why would they take the focus off of what the kneeling was for? Why
do you think? We know the answer to that.
Yeah, so they don't have to actually fix it.
Yeah, why would you take awareness? Why would they cause a diversion in that situation? What's happening?
Because then to Don's point, accountability.
Well,
Because then you have to say, yes, I see an issue. I need to do something about it. So to your very point of now that everybody's seen this and we cool with this, like to your Trayvon Martin gets killed, we all right with that? I think people aren't ready to answer that question. So what I'm gonna do is distract. I think so.
Yeah, for sure. It's like if a guy is beating up a little boy who's wearing a dress, and the guy's like, well, he's wearing a dress, and everybody's like, oh, okay. No, the problem isn't the kid wearing a dress. The problem is you beating him up.
Yeah.
So, but throwing the diversion and be like, well, and
it's the ultimate pump fake.
Yeah, like it just.
And that to me,
that person's not going to get in trouble now.
From media, I've always been talking about how
for sure.
the media controls the narrative in favor of
the story they want to tell.
Do you think social media is changing that?
Say that again.
Do you think social media is changing that?
Not really.
Well, because there are hashtags that boycott this and I'm not saying that, but Facebook.
But social media is built in a way that it feeds you what you're interested in.
Right, but I understand. But what I'm saying is that if there's a lot of outrage on social media, it gets it gets things done. It really does.
So I'll say this. I think the ability of people voting with their dollar, right, and saying, "Yo, Papa John's, what you just did, I ain't rocking with you no more." And now taking their dollars from Papa John's and say buying Little Caesars that does a tremendous amount of work. I think that has an impact, but then that puts the onus on that organization to do things that theoretically our government, our civil servants should be.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, the guy from Papa John's got pushed out.
Yep.
Papa John got pushed out.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You got
Papa got home.
Papa go home. You're done.
All right.
But why? Because it would have been one little blip on the news, and the news wasn't going to really be that upset. It was social media.
I'm not downplaying it, but I guess because what I'm saying is at some point
companies want to make money, and they know.
Absolutely.
That's the end of the thing.
That's the end of the story. Do you think they cared? Do you think
Papa
Papa John's really cared that he said that? No, they cared of the bad publicity, just like BP. BP has this, look, we're doing clean energy. Oh, well, great, but those tens of billions of oil spills you did is just really shitty, but I guess we'll just deal with accept the good stuff.
And that's why I say Nike took a risk.
Okay.
Because for you to be proactive and saying, look, this is what we stand behind, and we're going to
instead of reactive.
Yeah. Whereas
were they really proactive though?
Yeah, it's from jump.
I mean, it's been 2 years.
Yeah,
since
you
he's
have
been off.
2 years since he's been off, but their campaign of equality and everything else
sure.
associated with it has
Oh,
been
yes,
the same.
yes,
It's just now they putting a face behind
Also,
it.
and then to me, this is what's even because if they really wanted to be opportunistic, while he was kneeling, they'd have been like, you know what, this would be a great time to put out this campaign and stand behind the movement.
Or were they waiting for the tide to change because there's a
I mean,
good tide?
To be honest,
Could it be?
it's the 30th anniversary of Just Do It. So 30 is a really nice number. We're gonna go with that. I think what's gonna be interesting is Nike's supposed to be back and launching apparel of his. So I wonder, like, if his graphic images, are they going to go with slogans
I think they had a couple slogans.
that drive towards like some of those things? I
But
think that'd be
they already do slogans. Like they did the LeBron slogans.
Oh, for
the
sure.
shut up and it says dribble or shut up and then it's like
Yeah.
for the comment that the news anchor said about him.
So I think that'll be dope to see what I don't say merch, but see what kind of merch comes out of this, and then do a portion of those sales go towards some of the things. So I think we better.
Can't we be happy that they're making money and changing the world?
That's what I'm about to say.
for
People
sure.
are naive to believe that a company isn't out to make money.
At the end of the day,
Why would they?
This isn't social. And
For someone even trying to make that as an argument, like Nike or whoever is just
and those
trying
are
to
the
make
people
money.
that hate
What are
socialism
you
and are
supposed to do?
capital.
all right. So now I'm
supposed to make
gonna
money.
go back to the NFL. The NFL job is to make money for them.
Yeah.
So they made a calculated decision to say, yo, we ain't entering this conversation. We gonna
Oh no, they didn't
No,
enter it. They
I'm just saying, but
took a stance on it.
But they did that
Like-
believing that they were doing the things necessary to make their organization money, right? So
Yeah.
they were protecting their interests.
Okay,
But you
I
can't
agree,
hate them
but
for that, man.
no, you can't because in
I
that
can't-
interest
I
was
can't-
hurting people.
I get that.
They did
You
not take
can't
a stance
hate them.
against women getting beat. Okay,
I
they did
get-
not take
you're
a
right.
stance.
You're
so
right.
guess what?
But if the majority of their fan base is males, you think I'm
You're
about
like,
to?
oh well, who cares? But
I'm just saying, like, but again, but
the majority of Nike are white people, right?
I'm just saying we can't in one conversation
That's
we
what I'm
can't
saying.
applaud one company for because we feel what they did was right, and then the very so
no,
it's the same.
No.
It's the
If
same.
an NFL supported, like, if they were like, hey, we support gun rights, okay?
Mhm.
That at least they're supporting something. I understand where they're not supporting the death, but they're supporting the gun rights. If they're just ignoring, if they had a player who
But you
shot someone,
But that's what
and we're like, well, we'll
we don't know. That
ignore
might be
it.
a strategy. That might be an effective strategy that those players, those
And
owners
this,
said.
but this is the climate where you go and talk to millennials, and they shop
Oh, I know.
based on
I just read that
companies.
quote.
It's not like how it was in the baby boomers where you had Macy's and J.C. Penney.
I don't
have
disagree.
everywhere to go.
I don't
And if I know
disagree.
you have a racist CEO or a beating,
Well, you like football. Where you gonna go?
I
You
watch
gonna
soccer.
You
I
gonna
watch
watch the
soccer.
CFL? Like so, get out like
Maybe
that.
I know they have Johnny Manziel.
But I'm just saying. So like,
I don't, but now I don't
watch.
watch. I don't watch football as much. I'll be honest. I rather watch. Now I'm like, well, the NBA. Or I mean, honestly, for me, my number one is soccer,
football.
But
they've diverted it. But have they said anything to soccer?
I'll tell you this: soccer
For the
is
demand
very
a company to do it, you're like
Boy, global game.
For the MLS, though, I'll say this about the MLS: if you are have domestic violence issues, they are very quick to cut you out.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's a lineman on the Cowboys still play
Yeah,
that
they
who beat
just
his
fine.
wife who got like arrested 20
So how
times.
do, okay, go back to Nike, but how do we feel about the Ohio State?
All right, so we're coming up on an hour.
That's a whole nother
We're
conversation.
coming up on an hour. So, but I mean, this conversation is far
We did
from
not
over.
touch
I think
boycott.
we
We
did.
did not touch these.
I
Yeah.
think the next we need to talk about is the issue, though. We have literally spent an hour talking about exactly what we said that they have made us talk about. And we have not once touched on the fact that that black males are getting shot more than white males.
And what's
60%
funny-
of shootings are not black men are unarmed.
And can I tell you this to be sadly honest? A black kid or guy getting shot, in my mind, is like, dang. All right. So
What
we're
about
gonna
the
do
most
this-
recent? What about
you
the
know
most
what I mean?
recent one?
Dallas.
In Dallas, she shot a man in the wrong apartment, and she
We'll see
what's
what
gonna
happens.
happen? What's gonna happen?
But again, in my mind, it's like, dang, another guy got shot.
We got
All right, so
desensitized.
what we
gotta change that.
what we gonna do? Are we gonna go play ball tomorrow? You see what I'm saying? Because that's just how.
It's how frequent it is.
Yeah.
So
just like school shootings.
Yep.
Just like mass shootings. It's become like, oh.
So clearly, this conversation is still going on. We are going to pick it up. Hold on, we
Sorry.
got some comment.
Jason just wants to add that international soccer is even more racist than you think.
Oh, for sure. Don't play in Spain if you're black.
So-
it's legit. They'll throw bananas at you.
So let's
Yeah.
pick this back up in a couple of weeks. If obviously we
But the
actually
fans.
continue to contribute to the conversation in the comments, we will read. If there's points that you wanted us to hit on that we didn't get to, we had a whole list of notes over here. There's a lot. So thank you for watching, and we'll be back. Peace. Bye.